Amateur Traveler is in its 20th year now, but can you imagine if I had people on the show who had never been to the destination, but had just read about it or seen a movie about it? That wouldn't make any sense at all, and you wouldn't listen. We all know how important it is to receive advice from people who know a destination to get the most authentic local experience. And a great option for experiencing this is Explore Worldwide and their authentic small group adventures, led by local tour leaders, perfect for solo travelers who want to meet like minded people with a desire for adventure. I'm often an independent traveler, but two of my last three trips were with small group tours because they organize everything and it's a lot easier. If you want to recreate the tour I did to Malta, they have a Malta and Gozo Discovery Tour. I'm intrigued by one of their tours called A Taste of Sicily. The company again is Explore Worldwide, and visit exploreworldwide.com to learn more. And thanks to Explore Worldwide for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
I got my bags packed, I'm on a roll. I'm heading out there and I'm ready to go. Looking real good in my passport photo.
Amateur Traveler, episode 698. Today, the Amateur Traveler talks about volcanoes and rainforests, whitewater rafting and zip lines, bird watching, beaches, and sloths as we go to Costa Rica. Welcome to the Amateur Traveler. I'm your host, Chris Christensen. Before we get into this week's episode, I do want to say something about the coronavirus epidemic, which is what's going on as I record this. I also put this in the Amateur Traveler Facebook group, but I know that not all of you are in there. I want you to know what my plan is. So like many of you, I am sheltering in place and I am not traveling because it's the right thing to do these days. But I won't be blogging and podcasting about COVID-19 on Amateur Traveler. I'm not a medical expert. You don't need my opinion. We did do one episode of This Week in Travel because it's news, but that's really all I'm going to do about this. And I'm really of the opinion that this will get better. I don't know how long, but sometime we will get back to work and things will return to normal and travel will return to normal, whatever normal looks like. And so I'm going to be looking ahead. I'm going to be helping you dream of better days. I know for some of you, that's not what you're looking for now. If you unsubscribe because this isn't the right time for you to be thinking about travel, no problem. I understand. But that's what we're going to be doing here, and I just didn't want to catch you by surprise. It's not that I'm totally clueless about what's going on. That being said, let's talk about Costa Rica. I'd like to welcome to the show Sam and Yeison from mytanfeet.com, who've come to talk to us about Costa Rica. Sam and Yeison, welcome to the show.
Hi, Chris.
Hello, Chris. Thank you for having us.
And Sam and Yeison are friends. I think we met in Philippines on a press trip, I want to say. It's been years ago, so I don't remember exactly when we met the first time. But someone actually pitched me doing Costa Rica, but two of the bloggers that I know who are the experts on Costa Rica are Sam and Yeison, and they make a living basically from this and from helping people figure out what to do in Costa Rica. So let's start with the obvious. Why should someone go to Costa Rica?
Costa Rica offers a lot of things to do for people who want to experience nature, because Costa Rica is known as a very eco-friendly, sustainable destination. It's a very green country.
Mm-hmm. In every sense of that word.
Yes, exactly. They protect over 25% of their land, actually. And so for anyone who wants to experience nature, whether they love bird watching or hiking or even want a beach vacation to see a volcano, experience the rainforest, Costa Rica really has got it all in that sense. And when it comes to countries in Central America and Latin America, it's very safe. It's very popular for travelers in the US and now more in Europe. And they're very friendly people and they're very welcoming. So Costa Rica is even a good destination for people who have never been outside or traveled internationally because of this reason.
Excellent. And what kind of itinerary are you going to recommend for someone who, let's say it's their first time in Costa Rica?
First, most people, they land in San Jose International Airport, and this is because this is the biggest international airport, so they have more flights, they have more schedules. And then for The first time itinerary, something I would really recommend is you land in San Jose, and then you go to La Fortuna first. And La Fortuna is a city in what they call the northern lowlands, and it is home to the Arenal volcano, very close to Lake Arenal, which is the biggest man-made lake in Costa Rica, and also a lot of rainforest around. And so La Fortuna is known as the adventure capital of Costa Rica, and you can do pretty much all the adventures you can want there. So whitewater rafting, canyoning, ziplining is very popular. Hiking, because of the rainforest, there's a ton of nature. There's a lot of wildlife, so you can see a lot of birds and monkeys and sloths. And it's a very good destination for families or for solo travelers because you find everything from $10 a bed a night to like $800 a night. So you have everything from super budget to the super luxury.
Well, and I notice, and this is what we did when we were in Costa Rica the first time, you didn't stop us in San Jose to do anything. And that is pretty typical for Costa Rican itineraries.
Well, Chris, one of the main reasons why, we Costa Ricans, we don't do that. Well, actually, the government is trying to make the capital prettier, but the truth is that traffic is terrible. Whenever you work on the tourism industry, you don't want an itinerary going through San Jose because traffic jams are getting very bad. I believe that every single city in the world is having this problem. So itineraries or packages that you find like San Jose, you will probably stay 1 or 2 nights, and then you might see only 1 or 2 activities on the whole day. And I would say the main reason is the traffic.
Well, and I was not surprised that you did not suggest that, but I did want to point it out because somebody may be looking at an itinerary that somebody else creates for them, and I wanted them to know the difference.
Well, now that you mentioned that, this is actually something that I have noticed recently, especially with people from Mexico.
Okay.
We got a lot of direct flights from Mexico, and I noticed that a lot of Mexicans and some Europeans, they like to stay in San Jose, and they do a lot of one-day trips. It's a lot of time on the bus, things that I don't actually recommend. My opinion is a waste of time. I mean, if you want to go to a volcano, it's not fun to spend 4 hours in a bus, to be 3 hours in the park, and then come back 4 hours. But believe it or not, this is a new thing. I mean, we saw it last year. Samantha and I, we saw it with a lot of people asking, and actually we work with companies that do one-day tours, and many people, they like to be in buses nowadays. I mean, I don't know, but whoever is listening to this podcast, if you love to stay in a bus, stay in San Jose and take one-day trips, but we don't recommend you to do that.
Well, the only things that I can think of that are close enough that I would do that is there's a couple of the coffee plantations that I think are close, and the river rafting in that area is fairly close to San Jose. But yeah, I can't think of anything else that I really would want to see in Costa Rica that San Jose would be where I would base myself.
I think it's because a lot of people, they come to Costa Rica to experience the nature.
Yeah.
Costa Rica doesn't really sell itself on its city and city life, even though in the city, they do have some nice cultural sites. They have a national theater. They have a few really nice museums, but it's so small. It's not a big city, so you can honestly see the city in a day. And you can go to the neighborhood that has a lot of good restaurants, and you can get a really good feel for it in just one day, and you don't need more than that, really, as if you were in New York City or like Madrid or
Sure.
Because there's not as much to do, which I think is part of the reason why a lot of itineraries, you land in San Jose and then you just leave right away.
Yeah, I don't think I've been in San Jose, and I've been in Costa Rica twice. So
yeah, so unless if you are dying or like really, really keen on experiencing that city life, you really don't need that much time.
Yeah, and something important to mention, Chris, you mentioned the Pacuare River, which is, I think, the most popular whitewater rafting that we have here in Costa Rica. A lot of people, what they do is they take that tour as a way of transportation. So, for example, if you're planning to go to La Fortuna or you're planning to go to the Caribbean side, so it's very, very, very common. People book the tour in San Jose, but they ask to be dropped off either at La Fortuna or the Caribbean side, or they can bring you back to San Jose. But that will save you. Now you see that with many other attractions. If you go to, well, in this case, the Pacuare is close to the Caribbean side. So from that location, you can go to different locations. So the Costa Rican tourism industry, they know that. So what they do is that it's a transfer tour with a 4 or 5 hours activity. I mean, it's very popular and it works very well here.
Sure.
Yeah, and you can do the tour from La Fortuna or the Caribbean side. You don't have to.
Yeah, it works both ways. So pretty much it's like you can take a whole day for, instead of traveling, could be traveling and rafting.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and we've done 2 other shows, I should say, 2 other episodes on Costa Rica. And the second one was about my trip there, including we did do that rafting trip. And I will say before we move on from that I think it's some of the best one-day rafting I have ever experienced, because you're in a jungle. So even when you're not in whitewater, it's fun. It's picturesque and it's good whitewater. The guides are very competent. The equipment is very good as anything I've seen in the US, and the water's warm. So the only thing is I got a terrible sunburn and it was the start of our trip. That was the only disadvantage of that experience.
Yeah. The Pacuare is known as one of the top 5 rivers in the world for whitewater rafting.
For a one-day trip, that's the only thing I would say. I don't think it's a Grand Canyon or something like that. That's a multi-day trip, which of course we've got another episode on, but wonderful experience. Cool. But you started us in La Fortuna.
Oh, yes. So I would go to La Fortuna afterwards. And then in La Fortuna, you can spend 2 or 3 nights. That way you can have a couple of full days to settle in. And then you can schedule a lot of activities. And the thing about La Fortuna is it's really convenient if you don't have transportation or if you rented a car. Because if you didn't rent a car and you use public transportation or shuttles, all the tours in La Fortuna, they include transportation from hotels in La Fortuna up to the Tabacon Resort. So that's super convenient. And then there's a lot of things to do. You can go to the Hanging Bridges one day. You can visit a national park and go hiking to see the volcano.
That is the Arenal National Park. I know it's the Arenal Volcano. Is that the name of the national park?
Yes, there's Arenal Volcano National Park, and then there's a lot of private reserves all around it that have also really good hiking. The Arenal 1968, Silencio, or the Arenal Observatory Lodge, they have their own hiking trails as well.
Okay. And do you need to be staying there to take advantage of those hiking trails?
No, you don't have to be a guest at the lodge. I think the entrance fee is $8 a person, and they have really nice hiking trails because they're the only lodge in the national park. So they're super, super close to the volcano. They have a waterfall on the property. They have great birding. They even have horseback riding that guests can do if they don't have to stay at the hotel either. And they have a really, really wonderful property.
You say there are many opportunities we could do while we're in La Fortuna. Your favorites are?
All the times we've been to La Fortuna, I think we've been over there more than 10 times. We still haven't done every single activity, but so far, my favorites are canyoning, which is waterfall rappelling.
Are you going up or down?
Down.
Oh, yeah, going up to a waterfall, man, that would be...
Yeah, I'll pass on that.
Yeah.
I have done canyoning in Jordan, and we were going up the river, and it's a lot more work.
Yeah, that's hard.
Have you ever heard of the Pura Vida thing? I mean, like, take it easy.
Oh, Pura Vida, yeah, good life. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to say canyoning. I would have to say also the safari floats, the river safari floats, I love.
The river safari floats.
Yes.
You're floating with wild animals, I'm guessing.
Okay, so the river safari floats you're sitting in a raft, the same raft that they use for whitewater rafting, but they take you to a river that's very, very, very calm. So there's no rapids, no waves. The guide does the paddling, and you float down the river for about an hour and a half to see the nature and wildlife. And one of the reasons why I love this one is because it's very relaxing, because all you do is sit in a boat. You don't have to do anything. But because you don't use a motor, it's really quiet and you can get really close to the wildlife without scaring them off with the motor. And the guides are really good at pointing out animals. So in this area, it's so abundant with wildlife. So in an hour floating down the river, you can see 2 types of monkeys. You can see sloths, a lot of herons, kingfishers, bats, iguanas, caimans, crocodiles. It's a great way to see wildlife, especially for those with young families or older people who cannot walk very much. It's very beautiful. So that's my second favorite activity. And my third one, It's hard to say which one, but any of the hikes. But I do love the Arenal 1968 Private Reserve hike. And so this one takes you through the lava fields it's the remnants of the eruption from 1968. So you walk through the lava rocks and you can see the secondary growth rainforest that is growing back after the eruption that had destroyed all the rainforest that was there before. And you walk for about a couple of kilometers, a mile and a half or so. And you get up to this viewpoint of Arenal volcano, and you're very close. And it's very breathtaking because you're very close to the volcano. And for people who have never seen a volcano, it's so impressive, especially when the clouds clear up and you get a view of the volcano. It's completely clear. And on the other side, you see the Lake Arenal. So that's very impressive and very nice hike.
Excellent. And Jason, you had a different 3?
Well, they are similar.
Okay.
I mean, everything is very adventurous in La Fortuna. But for me, I will say that my number 1 is the whitewater rafting. There is a river called Rio Balsa in La Fortuna. This is not like Pacuare River. This is a smaller river. It has rapids 2 and 3. It's not as intense. But you still can see a lot of nature. You go through actually you pass one town, which is very, very interesting because you see people living. This is a small section. You pass behind some people's house, which is very nice. Well, that will be my number 1. My number 2 is the horseback riding that they have in La Fortuna. It's very nice because you go to these properties, you go through these hills, and then the Arenal volcano is behind you. So that's very impressive. The views are very nice. You see everything. You see the town. You see all the forest on your back. And it's very easy. You don't need to know how to ride a horse. Horses do all the work. And my third one will be pretty much going out. And there is a pub actually in La Fortuna, and they brew their own beer. So, I mean, I like beer.
And what is the name of the brew pub?
La Fortuna Pub is just the name of the town. They call him pub. I don't know why they call him pub, but the owner, he always comes. He likes to show off his beers. The nightlife in Fortuna is nice, so it's always nice to go out. I like to go and have 1-2 beers at that place. Then you can go to different nightclubs. And what I like it is that it's healthy, friendly atmosphere. You know, it's not like intense party. There's a lot of people from different parts of the world just drinking a beer and telling their stories. So I really enjoy that.
Now, you're not guaranteeing that someone will end up with Costa Rican as Sam did.
Well, that's not how I met Jason, but it could happen to other people.
Okay. It happens.
Yeah.
And then, while Jason was off wrestling dogs recently while we took a break in recording, Sam, you said you had an alternative to La Fortuna if somebody's interested in a quieter spot for exploring the rainforest.
There's maybe 2 other places I would recommend because La Fortuna, they say it's the number 1 tourist destination in Costa Rica. And so the infrastructure and everything is very nice and very convenient and set up for tourists, so that it does give off a very touristy vibe.
Sure.
So if somebody wants to experience something a little bit more rural, a little less touristic, there are 2 really good destinations that offer similar activities and things. Well, one of them is, not a town, actually, it's a canton.
Yeah, it's like a district.
District, yeah.
So we call it cantones.
Canton, yeah. I'm not sure in English what it's called, actually.
Well, in Switzerland, we would say they have cantons. So that is an English word, yeah.
Yeah, and it's called Serapiquí. And it's actually only an hour from La Fortuna. And they offer very similar activities. They have really good whitewater rafting. They have chocolate tours. They have pineapple tours. They have a lot of good birding and nature. And it's definitely for travelers who want something a little bit off the beaten path, not as touristic, more rural, a local culture farming experience.
Okay.
They're one of the 2 destinations in Costa Rica, along with Sarchi, that has the sustainable certification from Acropet in Germany. And so It's a popular destination for a lot of European travelers. And the locals there are very focused on the sustainability and everything like that. So it's a great way for anyone who wants to experience more of that in Costa Rica. And then another alternative destination would definitely be Monteverde. They don't offer quite as many things as La Fortuna, but they still have really, really good zip lining, excellent zip lining. They also have horseback riding, they have waterfalls, canyoning, excellent bird watching. One of the best places for bird watching in Costa Rica and hiking.
Well, and I laugh when you say ziplining. I do agree. We've done the ziplining in Costa Rica. We did only get halfway, though, before it seemed like a good idea to get down off the trees because a thunderstorm came in. So one of these days I'm going to go back and I'm going to finish the ziplining course in Monteverde.
Yeah, we will take you, man. I'll be happy to take you. We have a couple of good options.
Yeah, we actually just came back from ziplining in Monteverde.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I would say when I was there, now I was there a few years ago, it would behoove you if you're going to Monteverde that if you're renting a car, you rent a four-wheel drive.
Well, that is something new. Actually, Samantha said we just went like a few days ago, 4 or 5 days ago, because, we always visit in towns. There's actually one new road, which is 100%
that's why I
paved.
asked. Yep, okay.
Yeah, is the route number 606. Locals, we call them the Sardinal route. I mean, if you're using your phone, Waze is the way to go here.
Okay.
It's similar to Google Maps, but Waze works better here.
Well, they're owned by Google also.
The new road is 100% paved, but once you get into Monteverde, and this is an advice that we always give to all our readers, is that you can get with a sedan if you want to, even with a compact car to Monteverde. But once you get to town, please make sure that your hotel, Airbnb, or rental place has normal access. The thing is, I will say like 90% of the Airbnbs is 4x4 access, or even some hotels are on top of all the hills. So that is a very common mistake that we assist our readers, is that they read somewhere, the road to Monteverde is in perfect conditions. Yeah. So, but once they get over there, yeah, man, it's true. You get over there, but then go the extra mile, do some research about if you are getting a hotel, send in an email telling, hey, how's the access to the hotel? Now that we're talking about Monteverde, if you go to some of the reserves too, we recommend, if you have a sedan, take the tour with the transportation, because the roads to some reserves, they're still gravel.
Sure. Well, it wasn't even that it was gravel. When I did it, it was gravel, and it was after the rainy season. And of course, it's a rainforest, so a lot of rain. So it was gravel with great big ruts in it.
That happens all over Costa Rica, and it's very common. If you are renting a car, always check your final destination. We have had so many emails from people to go to the south of Costa Rica, to Uvita area, that you can get to Uvita, but then everything is hills, gravel, mountains, and
rain.
I have been in situations trying to find that tow truck at 2 a.m.
Let's try and avoid that, yeah. Excellent. So we talked about La Fortuna and Monteverde. Where do we want to go next?
So after a few nights in La Fortuna, the next destination I usually recommend to people is Manuel Antonio, because at Manuel Antonio, you get beautiful beaches, a lot more nature, good hiking. And Manuel Antonio is very similar to La Fortuna in the sense that it is very set up for tourists. There's a lot of hotels, a lot of restaurants. The road is paved all the way there. You can find everything from a really cheap bed in a hostel to something really, really expensive and luxury and adult only in Manuel Antonio.
Well, and you say Manuel Antonio is the road there. We're going almost all the way across the country.
The thing is that I remember Costa Rica is very small. We're only 50,000 square kilometers, and miles, like 36,000 square miles? Yeah, Costa Rica.
Just bring that up because if people look at their map, they are going quite a ways across the country, but it's not a big country.
You can drive coast to coast in a day. Honestly, you can.
Yeah, you can see the sunset. You can read the sunrise and sunset on the same day.
It is a long drive. La Fortuna to Manuel Antonio. If you're taking it slow, stopping for bathroom and breaks and stuff like that, it'll take around 5 hours. So, but you can turn that travel day into a little bit of sightseeing, and you can stop at other areas. You can stop in Jaco, and you can have lunch in Jaco, which has great restaurants, and you can check out the surfing beach there. So you can do some sightseeing along the way. Okay.
Now, I think of more of the surfing beaches as more further north and west. Am I obsolete in terms of my knowledge?
The thing is, there are surfing beaches on both sides of the coast of Costa Rica, and There's a lot of good surfing beaches up in the Pacific Northwest coast, in Guanacaste, in the Nicoya Peninsula, but in the south, Jaco is an excellent surfing beach. Hermosa, right next to Jaco, is an excellent surfing beach, and it's known as the National Surfing Stadium.
Oh, okay.
And then you can actually also surf at Manuel Antonio. If you go 40 minutes south of Manuel Antonio, you hit Dominical. And Dominical is an excellent surfing beach. And then if you go to the Osa Peninsula, you have a lot of good surfing down there, like Matapalo, Backwash. Those beaches down there are very good. Very, very further south.
Yeah, you can even reach Pavones, which is it's a heaven for surfers.
Exactly. And Pavones is Costa Rica's little secret, but it's getting more
it's not
popular
secret anymore.
Yeah, for surfers.
I do not know Pavones. Where is Pavones?
It is in the very south of Costa Rica in the Gulf of Dulce area.
Okay.
It's not in Osa Peninsula, but it's on the other side.
It's up across the water from the Osa Peninsula. Got it.
Yeah, it's very close to Panama. It's very popular for surfers because there's not too much to do there if you're not a surfer, and it has one of the longest left-hand waves in the world. So you can surf for a minute and a half.
Shows how little I know about surfing. What is a left-hand wave?
I mean, it's a wave going left.
Okay. It's not coming straight into the beach, but it's coming sort of across the beach more?
I know. So from the surfer point of view, when you're catching the waves breaks to the left. So you catch the wave and you turn to the left and you surf left. So you're pretty much going parallel on the beach, but going left.
Yeah, you surf the face of the wave.
Doing the green wave,
Yeah.
So you took us down, before I distracted you, to Manuel Antonio.
Manuel Antonio is another really good destination for first-time travelers, families, because it's very convenient, like I said before, with lots of hotels at different price points, a lot of restaurants, good access, good road. Mm-hmm. And they have Manuel Antonio National Park, which is now the most visited national park in Costa Rica. And it was named by Forbes back in 2012 as one of the most beautiful national parks in the world, even though it's the smallest national park in Costa Rica.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
It is, yeah. And it's actually the second most visited national park in all of Latin America, including South America.
Yeah, after Machu Picchu, actually.
Oh, okay. Huh.
And so this park is really, really good for wildlife. It has excellent hiking and some really nice beaches. So a lot of people like to go there some people like to hike. Some people just want to lay at the beach. Some people take a guided tour so that the guide can point out wildlife and share information about the flora and fauna there. And you can do a lot of other activities there. Similar to La Fortuna, but you have the beach. So you can do a sailing tour on a boat. They have whale watching when it's in the season.
And the season would be in the February and November, or when is the season in Costa Rica?
Costa Rica has the longest humpback whale watching season in the world, but the best time to see them would be July to November in the Manuel Antonio area. There are possibilities end of January to March, but it's not as good as August, September.
Okay.
Yep, and you can also do ocean kayaking. There's many beaches in the area you can visit. There's a mangrove that is really nice that you can take a boat tour or you can go kayaking.
A mangrove swamp.
Mangrove with the estuary.
Estuary, okay.
Yep.
And you say good hiking. Do you have a favorite hike in Manuel Antonio?
Well, the national park has excellent hiking. So what most people do, from my personal experiences, and this is what the guided tours do too. They go on the main trail, which is what they call the Sloth Trail, and they go to Playa Manuel Antonio. Okay. And that's maybe 30 minutes, and then they do that loop. So they walk from the entrance to that beach, and then they walk around to the other side. A lot of people miss out, if you really love hiking, is that the park has 4 other awesome trails that lead around the really nice viewpoints. And when I went hiking, I went there by myself once, and the park was really, really crowded because this park is very popular. So it gets really crowded, especially on that main trail. But I veered off and I went onto the Las Gemelas and the Punta Cerrucho trail by myself. And I was the only one there.
Yeah, nobody wants to
hike all the way up there. And it's not that hard. And the views are beautiful.
So you're hiking way down to the southern tip of the park.
Actually, it goes to the northern side.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So it goes to the northern end of the park. I don't know. A lot of people don't do it because go swimming or relax at the beach
Sure.
or not wanting to walk that much.
Well, and you mentioned crowds. Should ask the question of what do you think is the best time to come to Costa Rica?
I mean, personally, as a local, I prefer the rainy season. Okay, why the
Interesting.
rainy season? Because rainy season here, it is actually nice.
It's not a cold, wet rain.
Yeah, for us, for rainy season is you have a beautiful morning and then you got 2 hours of rain on the afternoon, which is actually very nice.
And when is the rainy season? I don't know that.
It depends right now, but I will say that you can come October, November. For me, that's the two favorite months, even the middle of September to the end of November.
Right.
That's for me, that's the best time to come. Well, there's no crowds at all because it's summer on the North America. Well, everything is cheaper, way cheaper. Prices go down because, well, now they call it green season instead of low season, but it's what we call low season. Pretty much you find everything. You don't have to make lines for everything. Just save money. And for me, the most important is that everything is so green.
Sure.
I mean, if by any chance we got a storm coming, because, you can get a tropical storm whenever you hear a storm is in Cuba or the Caribbean side, sometimes we get affected.
Mm-hmm.
We have never been hit directly. I mean, a few years ago we got one, but it wasn't that big. Definitely, if you have the chance, come on, the green season.
And I just want to add a note about when rainy season is, because like Jason said, it does kind of vary for the country, but on average, it's end of April, beginning of May till about beginning of December. But we also have something in July that we call Little Summer, where it dries up a little. It doesn't rain for a few weeks and it's like summer. So that's why we call it Little Summer. For all of the country except the Caribbean side. The Caribbean side follows a different weather pattern.
Okay.
It is humid there all year long, and their driest month is usually October, but it can rain all year long. So it's the Caribbean. They have different wind and all that stuff over there. So
Sure.
They have a more temperate but year-round possible rainfall. And October is the best month there.
Yeah, and recently the weather has been changing here.
Sure.
We got rain on January. We live on the North Pacific part of the country.
Yeah, like one of the
driest part of the country, hottest areas.
Yeah.
And we got rain on January. I never seen that on my life.
It's super weird.
Yeah, so weather has been changing here. To whatever park you go, the guides are gonna tell you, oh, we used to have this species here. The mating time was at this time. Not everything is moving or
Sure.
It used to be very clear when rainy season was and when dry season was.
Yeah.
Now it's all meshed together because there's no clear cutoff anymore. Even in February, pour rain in Manuel Antonio. We've been there before, and it poured rain in February.
I stopped in the Caribbean side in Limon and then went up to Parque Nacional Tortuguera when I was cruise for my anniversary one time. We went down to Panama, and on our way back we stopped in Costa Rica and went up and saw the national park there, and we stopped in a rainforest on the way, which it was raining, which people on my bus did complain about, but I believe they get 300 inches of rain a year or something like that in that part of the coast. So I mean, a lot of rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it's exactly 300, but it was one of those, how can you complain about going to a rainforest and finding rain? So
We also have so many interesting complaints that I'm saving them for a book.
But it is important to know, even though Costa Rica is a tropical country, people have this idea that it's super hot and sunny all the time, but it is a tropical country.
there's a reason it's green. Yeah.
It rains here, and it rains hard.
Well, and let me ask you this. So we talked about, for instance, make sure that you know whether you can drive all the way to your Airbnb or whatever. Are there any other warnings that you would give people just so they're better prepared for Costa Rica?
I mean, I have a lot of tips. I would say my biggest tips are definitely the one that we just mentioned, always checking your final destinations and the access. And if you can't afford to rent an SUV, you need to consider changing your destinations or your mode of transportation. Second one, if you're coming in rainy season, come prepared with appropriate equipment.
Sure.
Do not throw flip-flops and shorts in your backpack. You're going to need a waterproof rain jacket. If you have expensive camera equipment, you need to bring a real waterproof backpack. And I say this from personal experience and losing $500 from not having a real waterproof backpack. Ouch. And there are mosquitoes here, a lot of mosquitoes. So you need to be prepared for that. And please put on sunscreen. I always see tourists. They come on their first day and they think, oh, like it's winter back home. I'm finally going to get some sun. So they don't put on sunscreen for like an hour and they get burnt toast and in pain for the rest of their trip.
And I would like to mock people for that if I had not been one of those tourists.
Well, you learned from experience.
Yeah, and part of the reason is I was on a rafting trip and you stay cool and you don't realize how much sun you're getting.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
We are only 8 to 12 degrees from the equator. Even when you're in the cloud forest, like at 1,500 meters in elevation, right, you're that much closer to the sun and you can still get burned. And so I always emphasize people, please bring sunscreen. One of my friends came to visit me and her friend got so burned on her first or second day that she couldn't even sleep on her back or her front or anything. And she was just miserable the rest of the time.
Yeah, they think that just one apply will make the job.
Yeah, they just think that I just need to put on like SPF 10. I'm going to tan and then I'll burn and then it'll peel off and I'll be tan and I'll be fine. But it doesn't work that way when the sun is so intense.
Well, and I think I was smart enough to wear a shirt, but I burned my legs. I wasn't paying attention. So it is easy to do.
You burn your knees too.
Yep, probably.
If you're wearing shorts, yeah.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah, the knees. I don't know. Do you have any tips?
Well, it depends if you come with kids or if you have any food allergy. We are learning a little bit more about U.S. needs. Now that I work on tourism, I start hearing all these requirements that you need to travel. So, for example, here, if you need to if you're taking your medications and everything, I know that probably this is very common advice, but a lot of people, they try to go to the pharmacy here and they ask for the brand name of the medication that they need.
Yeah. And they may not have that brand name there. You need to know the generic. Yeah.
Basic things, things that you will do either in Costa Rica or any other country. Same with food. I mean, if you have a lot of allergies, if you are allergic to, in my case, I'm allergic to shrimp. So whenever I'm in a seafood place, I always ask them, okay, please do not cook on the same pan you're cooking, my fish, where you're cooking shrimp. Those kind of basic things, they are super, necessary here.
Well, I would say for the allergy thing, especially if you have one as severe as he does, because he is very severely allergic to shrimp, is to learn how to say or write it down in Spanish.
Yeah, I would say have it written down in Spanish is a good idea. Yeah.
Even though Costa Rica is a touristic country and you will see signs in English and you will notice that like, oh, my guide all speaks English or whatever, like not every Costa Rican speaks fluent English. Right. And don't assume that everybody does. Even if you're in a touristic area, it is always good to have it written down, especially when it's something that important.
Exactly. Excellent.
Yeah, another advice would be like, be patient. You need to be patient here. Even for me, sometimes it's hard.
Driving.
Yeah, driving. Like we are Costa Ricans, we are very friendly, but sometimes service is, we're getting better, especially on the government services, but don't expect the same efficiency as you find in North America.
If you want efficiency, go to Germany or Switzerland. Don't go to Costa Rica. Okay.
They call us the Switzerland of Central America. Well,
because you guys have no army. You're very neutral.
No, we don't have an army yet, but I think that was a song that made that phrase popular, and we believe it.
Ended up with terms of the itinerary talking about Manuel Antonio. Are there any other itinerary items you want to put, or did we wrap that up with that?
If you only have 1 week and that includes flying days, don't try to go to so many destinations. Don't do one day there, one day there, one day there, one day there. You will find driving in Costa Rica or traveling, it always takes longer than what your GPS will tell you. You're going to tire yourself out, or maybe you really like somewhere and you wish you spent more time. Or I personally like slow travel, and so I like to spend a little bit more time to get to know a place rather than 2 hours here, 1 hour there, or whatever. And you can drive coast to coast in one day. I don't recommend it. I think just for 1 week it's not a ton of time, but it's enough time where you can get to know 2 destinations really well. And you won't tire yourself out. You're not going to need another vacation from your vacation. Your family can really enjoy, especially you need to take into account, if you're traveling with kids, maybe kids will be too tired. You don't want to drive 5 hours every other day as well. For me, 1 week, That's like a good itinerary for me. And then depending like when your flight is out of San Jose, you can leave the day of your flight, or you can leave the day before and stay a night in San Jose to be close to the airport.
Well, and the airport isn't right in San Jose either. It's a little out of town. I think we stayed in...
The airport is located in the province of Alajuela.
Yep.
The thing is, everything is so close here.
Yeah.
But it's about 30 minutes from the airport to downtown San Jose, give or take with traffic.
Yeah, I found Alajuela was a great place to stay the first night we came in, and also the last night, I think, that we were on the way out, because it was right by the airport.
Yeah, and the good thing about San Jose Airport is that there's a ton of airport hotels around, and a lot of them have free shuttle with hot breakfast. So there's a lot of options.
Excellent. Well, as we start to get to some of our wrap-up questions, if you were in the prettiest spot in Costa Rica, where are you standing and what are you looking at?
The thing is, I have two, and they're seriously like both at the top.
Sam, you're a friend. You can have two.
Oh, thanks. Sweet. Okay, well, for me, they're both waterfalls.
Okay.
I'm a water girl, and I love beaches and everything, but for me, I like more mountain landscapes and rainforest. So the top two for me, for the prettiest places that I've been to in Costa Rica, is the Del Toro waterfall in Bajos del Toro and Rio Celeste in Bijagua.
You can actually take one-day trip from La Fortuna if you want to spend a full day and go to Rio Celeste. Yeah. It's a light blue river.
It's a sky blue river in the Tenorio Volcano National Park. It's actually not the only sky blue river in Costa Rica, but it's the most accessible, and the waterfall, it's breathtaking. You look at it in photos and you just don't think that it's real, but when you see it with your own eyes, you still can't believe it's real, but it really is real. And it's so picturesque. It's legend that the locals have, is that God dipped his paintbrush into this river while he was painting the sky. And that's why the river is sky blue. And it's this beautiful river, and they have a waterfall surrounded by lush rainforest. And you can hike down to the waterfall, and then you can hike the rest of the river. And you can see the union of two rivers, which is where the beginning of that sky blue color comes from. Okay. And that is pretty spectacular to see. And then the Del Toro waterfall is 270-foot waterfall in an extinct volcano crater in this little tiny town called Bajos del Toro. And this little tiny town is surrounded by two national parks, the Paz Volcano National Park and Juan Castro. And so the volcanoes in that area, there's so many waterfalls in Bajos del Toro, and a lot of them are actually also sky blue, but Del Toro is so beautiful, like colors of the extinct volcano and how tall the waterfall is, and the beautiful gardens that are all around. That's another favorite of mine.
Excellent. Jason, do you have a different answer?
Yeah, for me, I love water. So I will say that my favorite place in Costa Rica, without a doubt, is the Papagayo Gulf.
Oh, yeah,
like taking a boat trip on the Papagayo Gulf is my number one. That's actually where we take friends, if you come to visit us, Chris, we will take you there. Yeah. Pretty much is this little gulf called the Papagayo Gulf, where there is a lot of boat-only access. Well, if you can walk through the mountain, you can go, but it's always an access. I mean, people always get there. But
now we're way up in the northwest corner of the corner, close to Nicaragua.
Yeah. Actually, we live in Tamarindo. We're close to Tamarindo.
Oh, okay.
One of the reasons why we didn't include come to Guanacaste, only 1 week itinerary, is that we don't recommend so much driving if you go to different locations. If you come here to Guanacaste, everything is, you'll have to spend the whole week here. That's what we will recommend. Or maybe 4 days here, then 2 days somewhere else. But still, everything is far here.
I like the balance that you did of half the time in the mountains and half the time at the beach. There are, as we said, some options for the mountains, and there are some options for the beach as well. So instead of going down to Manuel San Antonio, we could have gone up here, we could have gone to the Nicoya Peninsula, but I did like that balance of the mixture of the two, unless, of course, you're somebody who really just loves mountains or really just loves beaches, maybe.
One of the reasons why we choose those two locations as for the 1 week itinerary, this podcast, is because you can find everything there. For families, for couples, for solo travelers.
And
so
from San Jose, it's
not
more
too much.
convenient.
Yeah, it's not too much driving. It's easy transportation methods. Of course, you can come to Guanacaste, go to the south, then go to the middle of Grecia, go back and go to the other sites. Of course, you can do that. I mean, there is no problem. Actually, you will find a lot of pre-made itineraries, or you can buy a whole package, like the 7 days packages or 10 days packages. We have done those with another company that we work. And to be honest, that's very, very, very tiring.
Right.
Go driving 7 hours, remember? Go. And as soon as you go to your hotel at maybe 7 p.m. and the guy is telling you, okay, so tomorrow luggage at 5 a.m. You are like, oh.
It gets frustrating. I understand why people do the packages, and probably there are companies, that can tailor it. But for the pre-made ones, the ones that we did, to be honest, I got really frustrated in the last 3 days because we were driving 6 hours and then you spent an hour and a half at the park. And then that's it.
Run, eat, everything was late. I mean, and that's normal. That's how it is. And some people love it. They just want to go and go all over it.
And see as much as possible.
As much as possible. I mean, go for it. I mean, if that's what you want to do, perfect.
See, if I'm going to go to Costa Rica and I'm going to hit a lot of different spots, I'm going to do that on an uncruise along the coast and let somebody else do all the driving on the boat. So
you don't want to be driving that way. And there are some areas where in Guanacaste, it's far. Like to get from one place to another, it's a lot of driving, and public transportation is not very good here. It is recommended to get a high car because some of the destinations and beaches, Guanacaste is still very rural. So if you want to explore, you're going to need to do a lot of research. Or on the other hand, in Guanacaste, you can also find the most all-inclusive resorts. So if you want, you can do it that way as well.
Yeah, or you can come here to the Rio, for example, that you don't even feel that you're in Costa Rica. Get out of the plane, the Liberia airport.
They shuttle you to the
They shuttle you to your all-inclusive. You stay there for a week. You gain 10 pounds, and then you just go back. And you don't even notice that you were in Costa Rica.
Yeah. Some people
love that.
That's what they want. That's what they're looking for, and that's totally fine as well because that is an option here. They do a day trip here and there. They go to the beach. But they just want to eat, relax, and not think about having to do anything.
Well, I'm going to start to wrap this up. I've got 2 more questions for you. One is one thing that makes you laugh and say only in Costa Rica.
I remember there was this one time where I went to take a nap because I was not feeling well. I woke up to an earthquake, and then I walked outside my room, and there was a sloth climbing down the tree right in front of my hotel room. So I was kind of like, I go through an earthquake and see a sloth all at the same time in the span of 10 minutes. That was a good, it's like a Costa Rica experience.
Yeah. I would say that touristic-wise, I would say probably not only in Costa Rica, but probably a few countries in the world, you can change your surrenders very quickly. We are right now here. Like in this area where we live we are in a surfing town. We are in the dry season, so now everything is brown. So we can just drive 2.5 hours, and then we can be on the top of a mountain with everything intense green, waterfalls, and 20 degrees below in Celsius. That would be like 50 in Fahrenheit. I don't know. But, you can pass from 38 to 16. Actually, that happened early this week to us. So I would say that we have a lot of micro weathers. So if you get tired of the heat, you just drive 3 hours to some destination, and then you can, just go to the city. Everything is very close, and it's a big change.
Excellent. If you had to summarize Costa Rica in just 3 words, what 3 words would you pick? 3 words each for marital bliss here.
Green is definitely one of them for me. Yeah. Fresh would be another one. And then my third one would probably be bumpy.
Okay, I'm with you.
We call it the Costa Rica massage.
The bumpy roads.
The bumpy roads. I used to be a tour guide, so we used to call them, don't worry, guys, this is a Costa Rica massage.
And Jason, 3 words.
3 words. Well, for me, it's different because I'm from here. So I would say about the 3 words about Costa Rica. Well, I would say we're very friendly with tourists. We're very friendly with tourists. We talk to everyone. We always help as much as we can. I will say also Costa Rica is expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Costa Rica is expensive.
Now, expensive compared to what?
To everywhere I've been, man. Prices here, hotel-wise, are very similar to the U.S.
Okay.
I think Costa Rica is the second most expensive country in Latin America.
I could believe that.
I mean, Nicaragua is very close from here. So if I go to Nicaragua, I can get a hotel for $50, a very nice hotel.
Sure.
Same hotel here will cost $150. So, for example, to rent a car, you can get an SUV average for $100 today. In the US, you get it for $40.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's very expensive. It's not because of the business person or the entrepreneurs that want to make their own businesses. I will say that the country itself is very expensive. We have universal healthcare here.
Sure.
I mean, if you want to be an employer, you pay a lot of taxes and you need to pay a lot of benefits. I mean, it's very, very expensive to run a business here. So the owner of the business, they need to transmit that.
Sure.
And then I would say the last one is that you will be safe here. I mean, of course, you hear accidents happen all over the world. You get robbed even in the US.
Sure.
But I will say that if you get sick, if you get into an accident, or if you have a heart attack, I mean, I have been in cases where friends, they passed out, so they call an ambulance, they take them to the hospitals. We are very good at that. Health-wise, it's good. I mean, it's not the luxury hospital, but everyone will do whatever just to save your life or, stabilize you.
But they do have very good facilities here and very good doctors.
Good, and hopefully we will not need them. The goal is to not need them, is to make appropriate choices. As we go to wrap this up, I'm going to send people to mytanfeet.com, to Sam and Yeison's site. But if I want to send them to the most appropriate post for them, and granted, half the times I was looking for things, as you were saying things, I was finding a mytanfeet.com post. But if we want to send them to the best post to send them to, where are we going to send them?
I would say go to mytanfeet.com/destinations map, I think.
Okay.
So just go to the destinations map. You can see that on any page. I think I put it on the sidebar.
Yeah.
It's over there, says destination maps. Over there, you have a good summary.
We made a interactive map with all the guides that we have written and posts about tours and reviews and stuff like that. And you can filter it by city, destination, guide, beach, activity, hotel.
And when you go there, you will know why I brought these two of all the people I know of the show about Costa Rica, because they have written things about just about everything. So I think you won't need to go elsewhere. So Sam and Yeison, thanks so much for coming on Amateur Traveler and sharing with us your obvious love for Costa Rica.
No, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
And next time you come, just let us know so we can take you around.
In news of the community, I want to thank all the Patreon patrons who are supporting the show, and especially give out thanks to 3 new patrons. Those are Tom Wicklin, Graham Mason, and Alistair Brown. And I do want to tell you that I know that things are getting tight right now, that some people are losing their jobs. I'm not going to announce people who have to discontinue being a patron because their financial situation has changed, so don't worry about that. Again, thanks to all the patrons who are supporting the show. Alistair said specifically that, "Hi, Chris, thanks for the shows. Keeps me in touch with travel when I can't go anywhere." Yep, we're in fact all about virtual travel right now. Again, I heard from Jeff Olfs recently, who said about Ecuador and Galapagos. Ecuador and Galapagos was where we honeymooned. Thanks for bringing back memories. I felt the episode was a little short. Jeff wanted to add that you should visit the Equator Monument outside Quito, and that you should take in a folkloric performance at the Sucre Theater in Quito, and also suggested Cotopaxi is the town of Ambato, which has one of the world's strangest museum, the Museo de Ciencias Naturales, a mishmash of cultural and natural history with everything from a human fetus to a stuffed domestic dog and 2-headed chickens. Well, so if you're looking for 2-headed chickens, you now know where to go. With that, we're going to end this episode of Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, send an email to host@amateurtraveler.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. And thanks so much for listening.
I got to see one more cathedral. Got to sit in one more cafe.